Hey guys, it's Christy and welcome back to my channel. Thank you so much for joining me. Today we have an all new beauty battle. So before we get into it, I hope you'll consider subscribing to my channel before you leave. Give this video a thumbs up if you enjoy, and let's get into it. Okay, so I was checking on my channel and it's been about 6 months since I did my last beauty battle video. So these videos, I take two products that I really love in the same category and put them head to head, and I have to decide which ones I like best. So these are usually kind of hard, but they're also really fun. So let's just hop into it. And right out of the gate, I am putting the new Makeup by Mario Surreal Skin Foundation against the NARS Advanced Light Reflecting Foundation. And this is a hard one. The NARS was my favorite foundation of 2022. It is still one I love so much. It's definitely a thinner formula, but the way it just illuminates the skin without being too much, it's not too glowy, but I just love the way it glides onto the skin. It just makes the skin look so dewy and healthy and just radiant. And every time I wear this, while I'm putting it on, I'm reminding myself, like, this is why you love this one so much. This is your favorite. The new Makeup by Mario is one that I believe was released at the very end of December. So I do have a full wear test of this one up here on my channel. And I really like this one. This one is a bit of a thicker formula, but this also gives such a beautiful radiance to the skin. It really does a beautiful job evening out the skin. I think it is a little bit more high coverage than the NARS. This is a very long wearing foundation. And I had mentioned in my wear test video that this one I think could be a top contender to go against my NARS. That being said, I don't think it's past it yet. So tippy top favorite foundation I think still has to go to the NARS, and I don't think that's going to change. I love this one. Love this one, and I'm so glad that I found this one and love it, especially because I am almost out of my Catrice foundation and it's not really readily accessible anymore. So I am glad I have this. I will say, packaging wise, I think you get the same amount of product, but this one is so much lighter. This one is very heavy. I also only have like half a bottle left of this, but packaging wise, very different. I do think Makeup by Mario did a better job on packaging. My NARS pump, it does get messy, but I do think it's a little bit defective. It is a little bit hard to pump out product, whereas the Makeup by Mario component does feel much more luxe, much more expensive, and I don't think I'm going to go through the same drama with the pump. However, formula is the main thing here, so I do have to give this one to the NARS. Next, I wanted to look at two different illuminating concealers that came out in 2022. The first is the Too Faced Born This Way Ethereal Light Concealer, and I've put this one against the Charlotte Tilbury Beautiful Skin Radiant Concealer. So if you saw my year-end ranking, you already know where these fall. In 2022, I really didn't find a concealer that just blew my mind. I did at the very end of the year though, like late December, so once this video was already filmed. But that one's not being mentioned in today's video. Today is about these two, and I'll just tell you right away, I will say the Charlotte Tilbury is the favorite between the two. They both are very brightening, very radiant. They definitely do have a certain radiance, so if you don't like that under the eyes, I don't recommend you grab either one of these. I do like a certain illuminating property. I do powder my under eyes, so that really does tap down some of that radiance, but I really do like the illuminating properties just to brighten the under eyes, give me a little bit of life under there. I think that's really nice. But I do think the Charlotte Tilbury gives just a little bit more coverage. They're very similar in consistency, but I do think the Charlotte Tilbury gives a little bit more coverage and is slightly more long wearing than the Too Faced. So for that reason, Charlotte Tilbury is the better of the two. Okay, next I wanted to look at two setting sprays, and this one I feel like I might need to flip a coin for. So I have the Charlotte Tilbury Airbrush Flawless Setting Spray. This has been a favorite for such a long time. And then I have the Lawless Glam Guard Longwear Setting Spray. As I'm trying to anxiously think this one out in my head, I don't know which one is gonna win. So They're both a very fine mist, but the Lawless definitely has the finest mister I've ever used. It's so nice. You never ever get droplets on the face. It's never like a water gun. This one is fine too. You don't get that effect either, but this one is so fine. You almost don't know if you're actually getting any on your face. I think they both do a good job extending the wear of my makeup, so they both have a nice mister. If you don't like scent, I would definitely go with the Lawless. The Charlotte Tilbury does have a scent. I don't know if it's a little more fresh or floral, but it definitely does have a scent, whereas the Lawless really doesn't. So I'm gonna go with the Charlotte Tilbury. This was a hard one, so I am going with the Charlotte Tilbury simply because, and this is nitpicking, I'm going with the Charlotte Tilbury because I do think it perfects my makeup. I do think it melts everything together really, really well. And I know for a fact it does extend the wear of my makeup. I think the Lawless also does extend the wear of my makeup, but I'm not sure because it is such a very fine mist that I don't know that it actually really perfects anything. It definitely extends the wear, but I don't know for sure that it perfects the way the Charlotte Tilbury can. And just for the sake of nitpicking and having to choose, the Lawless pump is also quite messy. It is a little bit, it's definitely less of a high quality pump. It does get really messy in there. So really having to nitpick those to make that decision, but I will give this one to the Charlotte Tilbury. Okay, that one was hard. Let's go into an easier one. So for this one, we're looking at plumping lip glosses. So I've got the Patrick Ta Major Volume Plumping Gloss in 2 cc's, and then I have the Lawless Forget the Filler Lip Plumping Line Smoothing Gloss, and I have the shade Daisy Pink. I actually have 2 shades of this one, and these are both thick glosses. They both make your lips look very full, very glossy, very juicy. They both do that, and they both have a really nice color to them. They both have a decent color range as well. What I will say is the Patrick Ta definitely has a little bit more of that slight sting with the plumping effect. The packaging is absolutely beautiful, but the product itself does have more of a slight sting to it, and I will also say it smells very heavily like cinnamon hearts. So if you don't like that smell, you might not like this one so much. I really hate the smell, so that is hard for me when it comes to this one. The Lawless I don't feel like has a sting at all. It's just very comfortable, very, again, thick and glossy, just like the Patrick Ta. But this one is a bit more comfortable and it doesn't have a scent to it. I also much prefer the Lawless applicator. So the Patrick Ta applicator is just a really large doe foot. The Lawless is a really unique shape that actually just really hugs the lips. So I also like that a lot better. So I think for all of those reasons, I would definitely recommend the Lawless Plumping Gloss over the Patrick Ta. This next one is also going to be a bit tricky for me, but we have 2 lipstick formulas. So I have the Natasha Denona I Need a Nude lipstick in the shade Natasha. So this came out in her My Dream collection. This is just such a beautiful everyday nude. I have raved about Natasha's lipsticks many times. She's definitely one of my favorite makeup brands, and I love these lipsticks because they're so creamy and they just look so nice on the lips. They're very smoothing. I love them. I also recently tried out the Merit Signature Lip formula. This one is a little bit less opaque than the Natasha Denona, but also very creamy, and it feels so lightweight and almost balmy on the lips. So beautiful. This shade is very similar to the Natasha. Very similar shades, and they're both very similar to what I have on today, but yet I'm not wearing either one of them. So both of these are quite pricey. Natasha definitely has a much larger shade range. I think this is the only lipstick in her line though that has been reformulated with a new vegan formula. So there is that. However, this formula is still fantastic. The Merit lipstick definitely has a much smaller shade range, but there's something special about this formula. I've heard a lot of people say how much they love the component of this lipstick. I kind of hate it. It's pretty. I just don't like how it's permanently upside down. It's literally meant to sit like this. Again, we're nitpicking, but that is my least favorite thing. The packaging of this is beautiful, but I think at the end of the day, I have to give the favorite to Merit. There's just something so special about that formula And for the longest time, I didn't try these when they first came out. I thought, I love lip products so much. I have so many. I really don't need to keep building my lipstick collection. And then people were raving about these and I still didn't really see the point, but I did end up picking one up during the Gifts for All event at Sephora. And this formula really is as special as a lot of people say it is. It's so magical. It's definitely more sheer, but you can definitely build it up and it doesn't look thick. It doesn't do anything weird. And again, it's just so balmy and hydrating on the lips. I love this. This is the most comfortable lipstick formula I've ever tried. So I do have to give this one to merit. Okay, so we have highlighters and then I have an eyeshadow palette battle. My highlighters are actually from the same brand, and they're both from Charlotte Tilbury. So first I have the Pillow Talk Multi Glow Beautifying All Over Glow Highlighter. And this one just looks like so. Very, very pretty. And then we have the Charlotte Tilbury Hollywood Glow Glide Face Architect highlighter. So this is a very new product, but I've been trying it for a solid 2 weeks at this point. So here's what they both look like on the outside. Both very pretty packaging. There's definitely something very special about the Pillow Talk packaging though, I will say that. And they both have a really pretty embossment on the inside. The Pillow Talk has sort of like a quilted embossing. This one has stars. I will say one thing I have commented on with respect to the new Glow Glide, it tends to move around way too easily and kind of drive me crazy. And I've actually heard pretty much everybody say the exact same thing about this. So I do wish she'd done a better job of securing this in there. I think the magnet just isn't that strong and that's why. So I don't like that, especially when you consider the price point for Charlotte Tilbury. This one is really unique in that you can really customize this one. You essentially get 4 different shades. You can mix and match. You can use them individually. I like that. I really do like this one. This one is a bit more blinding, has a bit more of a sparkle within the formula, whereas this one is one that really strikes me as being very, very flattering for all skin types, all skin tones, all skin textures, essentially. I feel like this is the more grown-up version. This is the one that's more fun, and I love them both. I think they're both beautiful. However, while I like that you can customize this one and you really can play with different things, I think the packaging is much more special and I think it's much more high quality packaging. I don't necessarily get as much use out of these 2 shades on the Pillow Talk highlight. I typically tend to just mix and match between these 2. So to me, it feels like I'm going to waste half the product. Whereas with this one, I know I'm going to use it all because it's all one shade. It's a perfect shade for me, and there are 6 different shades. She did release 2 highlighters. In this one, there's one for deeper skin tones and one for lighter. I have Romance Light, which is the lighter one, but I do think I like the new Glow Glide Face Architect just a little bit more, simply because I think it's more flattering on more skin types. It's not too glittery, whereas this one can be a little bit, so I think I like this one better. I did not see that coming. Finally, we have 2 eyeshadow palettes, and these are not perfect dupes. I'm definitely not saying these are perfect dupes, but they have such a similar vibe that I think if you have one, you do not need the other. So we have the Patrick Ta Major Dimension eyeshadow palette, and we have the ColourPop Clay It Cool palette. So again, these are not absolutely perfect dupes, but I think the vibe is so similar that you know what I'm saying. I do think the Patrick Ta, you definitely get a little bit more depth and it definitely leans more neutral. I think Clay It Cool is definitely much more on the warm side, I will say that. And Clay It Cool also only has 1 cream shade, and I don't think it's the best cream. Patrick Ta has 2 cream shades and they are much better quality creams. However, when I ask myself how much use I actually get out of those cream shades, it's not much. I get much more use out of powders. So for me, that doesn't bother me. I like this palette a lot. I think it's great. I think it's a great formula. I do think his Rose palette is way better quality than this. This is not bad quality. It's just that he did such a good job with the Rose palette that I tend to forget about this one a little bit just because I like that one so much. The Clay It Cool palette is definitely a price point I much prefer. And I am a bit of an eyeshadow snob. I definitely don't tend to enjoy drugstore eyeshadows as much. I definitely don't think they've caught up to the higher end brands. But if I do find drugstore eyeshadows that are top-notch quality, I will tell you. I think this is very good quality. I love the looks I come out with this. I love the shimmers. I do think the shimmers and the Patrick Ta are a little bit more on the chunky side. I think they were meant to be, but I don't particularly love that as much. I think these are smoother while also giving a very similar impact. So overall, I don't think the cream shade is high quality, but again, that's not the main color I reach for. So I think I definitely prefer the Clay It Cool over the Patrick Ta. Obviously, if you are going to use those cream shades and that's what gets you about this palette, then go with the Patrick Ta. I think if you definitely prefer neutral, then you're going to prefer the Patrick Ta. But for me personally, in my beauty battle, I think Clay It Cool is my preference. And that is it. That is my very challenging beauty battle. Let me know down below if you'd like to see more of these. Thank you so very much for watching. If you're new here, I do upload at least 3 new videos every single week. Thank you again so very much for watching, and I will see you in my next one. Bye!